Hey everyone, welcome to another Watch It Play Q&A show. I'm Matthew, and together with a lot of your help, let's try and answer all of the world's burning board game questions. The first question I've got this month is, what themes are underused and which theme would you like to see more games about? I'm always excited and into a game if it's just a theme I've not seen before. That's something fun, it's something cool, I like it. This is such a subjective thought, right? I mean, sometimes people think that theme is way overused because I don't like it. I remember I went to PAX Unplugged late last year, and the two games I came home with were Cat in a Box and Boop, both cat games. And I think more cat games always. But a lot of other people think, oh, cat games, I don't need any more games with cats on them. I would say there aren't enough games about the Wild West. There's quite a few old Euro games out of the Wild West, and there's Western Legends, which is a newer sandbox style game. But really, is there that many games about the Wild West? It's a theme that I absolutely love. I love the idea of pioneer, kind of those type of feelings. I like that. A theme that I would really like to see more of, we do have a few examples of this, is survival. And more survival games, and not brutal survival. I mean, we have Robinson Crusoe, but that's a Robinson Crusoe game, not a survival game, if that makes sense. Games where you're on an island, or you're lost in the woods, or you're somewhere. I suppose we have some space games that kind of do this, but you're somewhere and you've got to build a house, build a hut, start a fire, get the resources that you need to get this technology, spend time building this, all the while you're trying to signal for help. You're stuck and you have to start gathering seeds and trying to work out which seeds you can actually plant, and doing some rudimentary harvesting and farming, and then you build that up, and then you manage to build some types of like greenhouses, and then all of a sudden you've got birds and you've got beehives and all this type of stuff. Essentially what I'm after is like Stardew Valley style progression in a game where it's survival, but really you're just getting better and farming and building a world and a little society for yourself. I would play games like that a bit more. I would really love to see that theme used a lot more. What theme do you think is underused? I know you're going to be tempted to say what theme is overused. So let us know that as well, I suppose. But what theme do you think is underused or never used? Let me know. My group loves fillers, and I want some good obscure ones to introduce them to. Now, obscure filler games, that's so in my wheelhouse that it's moved into my wheelhouse. It lives there now. It controls my wheelhouse. It's changed the Wi-Fi password, and it's got no respect for any of my neighbours. I feel like a filler game is a small box game that has a quick playing time and a simple rule set. Hopefully that's kind of what everyone's picturing. I've also tried to pick games that I've not spoken about before. The first one is called Age of War. It's a Reiner. There's multiple Reiner Knizia games on this list, okay? We all knew that was going to be the case. Age of War is my favourite Yahtzee game, essentially. You're rolling dice, trying to take over these different Japanese castles, and you roll dice trying to get the right symbols on the dice. You have to keep a dice each time, and you're trying to get what the castle wants you to get. But for an extra charge of a daimyo symbol, you can take someone else's castle. However, if you have all of the castles of one set, you flip them over and then they're yours and they're protected. The next one is Escape. With an X, it's a Reiner Knizia game again, which was his answer to Can't Stop. It's a game where you're rolling two dice, trying to get these numbers, trying to move around a track, but you're also trying to put those dice onto a ranking system, and you want to knock the other players off the system so they don't score any points. It's a fast, frenetic, exciting, quick dice game, which I really, really like. The game itself doesn't have any, other than the rules, the game itself is language independent. And there's a version called Rapido, which just got made. So if you can't find the original Escape game, then I think Rapido, with some help with Board Game Geek, you'll certainly be able to play that one. Next is Spoil Me Not, the game of gift giving, really, and it's a strange, peculiar game. The version I've got is Korean. I'm not sure how available it is everywhere else. I think it's called Nick de Bon in German. Spoil Me Not is such a weird card game. In fact, on Board Game Geek, the actual blurb to the game itself says, this game might be difficult to grasp, but it's worth it, because you're trying to collect sets of different cards and trying not to bust on those sets and trying to get multipliers and not things that are going to halve your score. A similar feel in that way to something like High Society. You're all kind of putting a card down, and the person who has the highest gets this card, the person who gets the lowest, and it's how you trade your cards as you play the cards down. If you can hunt down a copy of Spoil Me Not, it's worth it. The next game is by Reiner Knizia. It's the third one on the list so far, and it's called Kariba. A game, it's a simple, fun little game. It's very beautiful as well. Tiny little box by Helvetique. And in the game, you're drawing cards and putting them onto this circle of cards, and the cards go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I think. And you're trying to create sets of cards so that you can, the bigger set, you're scaring people away from a watering hole, different animals away from a watering hole. So if you put 3 elephants down, it scares the next thing that's just smaller than it away, and you collect the cards that you scare away. So you're trying to scare away these cards and collect these sets essentially to get points. And also the ones take the 8s because the mice scare the elephants away. But it's such a fun game because you're putting these cards down and trying to work out the best way to do it, but not set your opponent up to then get a better set from what you've just put down. Very satisfying and lovely little game. The next one is a game called Hamsterback, which is a small box Amigo card game. And in Hamsterback, what you're trying to do is, again, collect cards. You're trying to draft cards, and then because you're hamsters, you get to scurry certain sets of cards away in your cheeks, gaining points, because the cards that you don't scurry away are at the risk of being taken by other people. Hamsterback is a very little obscure little Amigo card game that people don't talk about that much, but I've always loved Hamsterback. Another game that I absolutely love is called R-Oko or R-Eco, depending on what version of the game you have. Again, the version I've got is a little small box Amigo card game, and it's a weird theme of bugs, and you're collecting anthropomorphic trash. But what you're doing is you're exchanging things. You're trying to collect the right things to exchange at the specific different depots that want those resources. However, the twist in this game, there's quite a few little weird twisty twists in this game. But one of the cool things is that when you take the point card, the next point card might be a 3, then the next one might be a 4, but the next one might be a -4. And all of a sudden the game dynamic switches and you're trying to not be the person who ends up delivering to that depot. R-Oko or R-Eco is a really great little card game that I highly recommend. The next game is another Reiner Knizia game called Escalation. Escalation is a card shedding game where you get multiples. If you add multiples together, you can put those cards together to put them down to their massive numbers. It's a wacky, wild, fast, very quick card shedding game that just causes lots and lots of fun and laughter, because someone puts a 13 down, but then you put 2 7s down, and then the next person puts 3 5s down, and you just think, oh, I can't. And there's a balance between what cards you put down and what cards you put together in sets. A lot of fun, a bizarre theme of a neighborhood of people in a suburb where they're all at war with each other, but it's a great one. The next game, I swear I didn't do this on purpose, but the next game is again by Reiner Knizia. This is a bite-wing game. A reprint is called Hot Lead, or Hot Lead, but it's Hot Lead. And you are trying to, it's a simultaneous card game where everyone plays a card down and there's a row of cards that you're kind of all bidding on. And there's certain cards in that row of cards that you probably want. So you all kind of have to work out who's going to play what card, what are people trying to collect. The higher the number of the card that you play is the closer to one side of this row that you're going to get. So you know which cards are in the row, and you know you want this card, so I think I'm going to have to bid quite high. But maybe you want the middle card. You think, oh, I don't want to bid too high, or maybe I don't want to bid too low, and you've got to work out what everyone else is doing. The trick is that you want to collect either cards of all the different suits to get extra 10 points, or you want to collect 3 cards of one suit to get extra points. But this whole theme is detectives, and if you are too aggressive in your in your pursuit of these criminal gangs, these suits of cards, then if you get 4 points, then that's bad. You bust in that suit and don't score for it. Again, like our eco, you're trying to win things, but then at a point you then do not want to win any more of that thing. Great little twist, beautiful production. I really love Hot Lead. Oh My Brain is another fantastic new little filler game. I absolutely love this one. It's a game where you're again kind of card shedding, and similar to Escalation, you can have multiples of cards. However, in this one, when you play multiples of cards, instead of that changing the number of the suit and escalating the number of the suit. Oh, that's why it's called escalation. Instead of that, those extra cards go into your opponent's graveyard. So essentially their hand is getting bigger. So because they have to draw cards from out their graveyard, and you want to get rid of all your cards. So when you go in for the right time to play these multiples is really important strategic decision. And there's also a few extra bits and pieces going on in this. There's a few extra bonus powers. Nothing that's too intense, but a game that I played for the first time was like, I have to get this game. And it took me another year or so to get it. And it's a really, really good one that I love a lot. And the final game that I love almost more than any other filler game in the whole world, it's my own personal thing that I feel like I found, which is Null and Niche Tig. Null and Niche Tig is a very difficult to get small box card game. It's a trick-taking game. It's the #1 game that I would reprint. And me, Rodney and Chaz and Paula and people were having a really big long conversation about, could we do this? Could we try to reprint this game? Could we do this? And we got very excited about it. But Null and Niche Tig, we're not reprinting it, just so you know, but it's something we played around with the idea of. In Null and Niche Tig, the real twist of the game is you have the opportunity to score 5 different cards in the whole game. 1 card of each suit. Now this is a trick-taking card game where you do not have to follow suit. And that's important because you take all the cards from the trick that you win and you put them on top of the cards that you have out. So you have 1 of each colour in front of you. And the last card that you won in that suit is on top of those piles. So if someone wins really big and they get the 10 red, you think, oh no, they're going to get the 10 red. And every other player at the table goes, ha! We're all going to tank all of their other cards. So their points go down dramatically. This is a raucous, fantastic, incredible card game that I absolutely love. Null and Niche Tig. If you can find a copy of it anywhere, get it. 100%. But there's lots more filler games. Which ones did I miss? Which ones would you add to this list? Obscure, fun filler games that you think would be an absolute storm on for a group that really enjoy that style of game. And the final question this month is, have you ever avoided a game because you'd only heard bad things about it? Yes. But it's more nuanced than just yes. I mean, if a person I respect tells me that a game is bad, then as a human, I have learned that a time-saving thing that we all do is just take their word for it and assume that they're correct. But then again, sometimes people have described a game to me and said this game is bad and then listed the reasons why, and I've gone, I like all those things. You know? Always get more than one person's opinion on a game is the first thing I would say. And there are some people out there whose taste in games is so polar opposite to my taste in games that when they say I hate this game, I go, I'm probably going to like that. You know, they start saying, you know, it's a bit of a point salad, but it's really just very abstract with a vaguely Roman theme. So I'm like, yes, point salad, abstract-ish, Roman theme. Let's get, where is this? Is it? Can I have your copy? Is it available now? The game that I will use as an example in this is Tellstones. Tellstones, which is just there, is a game, it's a memory game, and it's the sequel from Riot Games of their Mechs and Minions. And by sequel, I mean it's the second game, the second board game that they released. Tellstones was absolutely trashed in the reviews. And I don't think fairly. I think most people wanted something that Tellstones wasn't and then was angry at Tellstones when it wasn't what they wanted it to be. But there's a few people who really ended up liking that game. I love that game. Rodney likes that game. Jamie from the Secret Cabal really likes that game, and Paula likes that game. In fact, all four of us were sat together at PAX Unplugged last year, all just talking about Tellstones and saying, man, Tellstones is good. It's a memory game, and it's a bar, pub feeling kind of game. You just play it, massively overproduced for what it is. Yes, you can play it with a few pieces of paper if you wanted to, but that's true of lots of different games. Were the people who didn't like Tellstones correct? No, because they didn't like it. That's fine. But if I had just listened to the people who didn't like it, I would never have played it and enjoyed it so much. So Tellstones is my personal example of a game that everybody didn't like, but I do like. And I'm glad I didn't take their word for it. And on that note, thanks everyone so much for being here and watching. I just appreciate the support in the community that we have here, and I really, really do. If you've got any better answers than my answers this week to any of the questions, put them down below and I'd love to see them there. If you've got any of your own questions, pop them there as well, and maybe we can get back to those, or other people can answer those questions in the comments as well. And until next time, be kind to yourself everyone, and bye.